Hey, welcome back to Clean Cut, where we can talk about the truth about just about anything, as long as we use logic and common sense. This season, we're looking at the miracles of Jesus to see what they can tell us about God and His promises to the faithful. Last time, we talked about the raising of the dead, how Jesus can put an end to death for those who follow Him. Today, the Transfiguration. This miracle is notable in the Gospels for being something that very few people witnessed, and for only happening once, though there are 3 different descriptions of it in the Bible. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh unto him Peter and James and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. And he was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his garments became white as snow. Matthew 17, 1-2. I've heard some different interpretations of what the disciples were seeing. My current hypothesis is that they were witnessing the truth of the real glory of Jesus instead of only his material body. Mostly, all that we can see is material reality, and here, Jesus either shows the disciples an image of what's really going on, or, what I think is more likely, improves their eyesight in a sense to allow them to see some of what he sees. And it came to pass, about 8 days after these words, that he took Peter and James and John, and went up into a mountain to pray. And whilst he prayed, the shape of his countenance was altered, and his raiment became white and glittering. Luke 9, 28-29. And his garments became shining and exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller upon earth can make white. Mark 9, 2. These verses express all that we know about how Jesus looked to his disciples. That bright light came from his face, which was or seemed to be a different shape, that his clothes were pure white, and they glittered. If these changes in the appearance of Jesus were meant to represent specific attributes of his divine nature, what they are isn't explained or even hinted at by these verses, but I think we can safely say that the bright light coming from the face of Jesus is related to the guidance that he provides through his word, since Jesus compares the word of God, and those who spread it, to light in other parts of the gospel. His white clothes could represent his complete purity and sinlessness, just as the white robes in the book of Revelation represent the removal of all sins from the saints who wear them. The total picture represents the glory of Jesus, which is explicitly stated in a later verse by Luke. And there appeared to them Elias with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. Mark 9:3. Elias, of course, is Elijah. They appeared and talked with Jesus, but only Luke goes into greater detail on this point. And behold, 2 men were talking with him, and they were Moses and Elias, appearing in majesty, and they spoke of his decease, that he should accomplish in Jerusalem. Luke 9, 30-31. Moses and Elijah were talking to Jesus about his upcoming death. We also know based on this verse that they appeared in majesty, though whether this means that they arrived in some miraculous-looking way, like descending from the sky or in flashes of light, or whether it means that they were also dressed in brilliant clothes and or given a radiant appearance to show their status as men of God and prophets, isn't explicitly stated. All we know is that something about them looked majestic. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and waking, they saw his glory, and the 2 men that stood with him. Luke 9:32. As Luke says, what Peter and the disciples were seeing was the true glory of Jesus, as well as Moses and Elijah. And there was a cloud overshadowing them, and a voice came out of the cloud, saying,
This is my most beloved Son. Hear ye him.
And immediately, looking about, they saw no man any more, but Jesus only with them. Mark 9, 6-7. A cloud takes up a position over the disciples and delivers this message from God. When it's gone, things look the way they did before, including Jesus. And as he was speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and lo, a voice out of the cloud, saying,
This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him.
Matthew 17:5. So the cloud was bright. This is probably not just a normal white cloud. Bright usually means that light was coming from it, so this is no ordinary-looking cloud. And as he spoke these things, there came a cloud, and overshadowed them. And they were afraid when they entered into the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud, saying,
This is my beloved Son. Hear him.
And whilst the voice was uttered, Jesus was found alone, and they held their peace, and told no man in those days any of these things which they had seen. Luke 9:34-36. So this was a bright cloud which was not only above the disciples, but it actually enveloped them. This means that for a time they were surrounded by the light of the cloud and couldn't see what was going on outside. Then when the message had been delivered to them, the cloud disappeared and they were left alone with Jesus. That's an incredible experience to have, all right. Just as Jesus gave sight to a man who'd never seen anything before in his life, so he gave this vision, or this ability to perceive a truth that none of them had ever seen, to the 3 disciples who went with him up the mountain and stayed with him while he prayed. I sometimes wonder what life would be like if I could actually see the spiritual realities going on around me all the time, the angels offering their protection, the saints praying for us, and the power of God keeping everything in motion. The Transfiguration just makes me want to see the real world even more. Really, we're all still blind, as long as we're not in heaven yet. Next time, walking on water.
That's all for now, so keep asking questions, and thanks for watching.